Welcome to Plans Our Book, to podcast for every reader. I'm Stephanie Blackburn, and I am having a little bit of a different episode today. I am interviewing Elizabeth Skarpnes. Thank you for being here with us.
Thank you for
We're going to
having
talk about
me.
her book, To the Gallows. I was reminiscing, I think it was a year ago. Was it last March that you did the Bougie Book Club of the Month?
It was like last March or February, beginning of the
It
year
was like
last year. So it's been
winter.
years. It was the winter time. So it's been a
Yeah,
while since we talked about the
yeah.
book.
But I'm excited to revisit it because I saw you pop up on Lovestruck's Instagram like a week or so ago, and you were signing a crap ton of books.
Yes. Yes, I was at Lovestruck. They asked me to be the conversation partner for Alex Astor
I saw
for
that.
her new book release of Starside. So they had me bring in my stock early and sign all the books there. So I dropped off like over 50 books.
Amazing.
And signed all the books there. And then at the conversation, we sold all of them, and then extras that I brought to
Amazing.
people who came to the conversation, and it
Oh,
was a
that's
great
so awesome.
experience. Yeah,
I want to talk more about that later, but I want to reverse back to like childhood Elizabeth. Were
childhood.
you were you a library kid? Were you a Scholastic Book Club kid? What was your book journey as a child?
Um, all of the above. I was a library kid, Scholastic Book Fair, AR
What's
reading.
that?
Accelerated reader. So
Oh,
it is a like when you read a book and then you take a quiz on it and you get AR points. I had like the most amount of AR points you could have because I would read books above my grade level and then take tests on them and like do well. So it would get me more points than anyone else in my classes. And you would get like pizza parties and stuff like
mm-hmm.
that. So I'm competitive and also love to read. So I started, that's probably where the reading journey started. I actually learned to read very early. My mom had some relatives who homeschooled their kids and they watched me. So when I turned like one, they put a seat for me in the classroom and I started learning. Like obviously nothing big and profound at the ripe old age of like 1 to 2, but like they started with picture books and moved on from there. So by the time I was getting into kindergarten, first grade, I was reading on like a fifth grade reading level. I was reading a little bit ahead because I had started so early. And I think that's where my love of reading comes from, is that I started so early and then I'm competitive and they made it a game. And then I definitely, once I got into middle school, I never went to recess. I didn't hang out with my friends before school or after school. I was in the library all the
That's amazing.
time. I like the bell would ring to go to recess and I would just go to the library and I would sit in a little corner and I would read, or I would go before school and I would help shelve books. Like I had the librarian teach me how the Dewey Decimal System worked and I would help her shelve books and I was like the little helper, and I formed like a really strong relationship there, and that also I think helped me continue on my reading journey.
What were the books that you like gravitated to the most? Was there like a series you were super into?
In like middle school,
Mm-hmm. Like I was a
um
Babysitter's Club kid.
my defining books in middle school, I would say, was the Maximum Ride series by James Patterson. A bunch of genetically engineered kids get wings and they fight the government and climate change. Um, and
On the
then
path to fantasy writing.
exactly, we started real early. And then I would say another one would be like the Hush Hush series,
Mm-hmm.
and the Shadowhunters series. So like starting
Mm-hmm.
with like City of Bones and going on from there, and keeping up with everything as everything came out.
Okay, so when did you start writing? Were you also writing stories as a kid, or was that like a later thing?
I was always writing some type of story as a kid. I would say We had like writing exercises we would do in my English classes. I remember like writing stories for those. I would make fictional stories or I would dramatize like little things in my actual life. But I would say like the first time I really got into creative writing was in middle school. I think I was like 10, and there was a website that was by James Patterson. It was when then the good old days of forums, and he had a website for his all of his kids series called Max Dan Wiz. That was the names of like the shortened names of his three series. And I started writing there, doing like original works and also doing role play. So basically, me and a bunch of other strangers on the internet would come up with characters, and we would like settle on like a shared universe, and we would all interact with each other. And that really started like a lifelong love of that kind of writing craft, that kind of creative writing. I started that at probably like 10 and was heavily in the role play scene probably until I was like 20, 21, until the pandemic. We'll say until the pandemic, because I
Hmm.
was a nurse and I just fell off of everything that I loved because I was working so much.
I
So I
was
would
gonna
say
say, I remember you saying that you were a nurse. Are you still doing nursing on top
no,
of writing?
not anymore. As of this
Really?
January, I'm doing the author thing full time.
Congratulations. Do you
Thank
miss
you.
nursing, or are you sort of like, I've been there, done that, that was another life?
Um, I miss it in certain aspects. I was a labor and delivery nurse. I love what I do and I'm good at it. What I don't love is the American healthcare system and how hospitals treat nurses. There's a reason there's a nursing shortage, and it's because nurses are used and abused and discarded like they're nothing. And you really feel that. And I remember when I started nursing in 2020, like the very beginning, like right before the pandemic, my preceptors were like, this is not how it used to be. And then even from that short time to like the beginning of this year when I left, like in those short 6 years, it's not what it used to be. It got worse. We thought, oh, the pandemic is as bad as it can get. And there are some aspects that were way worse than it is now. Like, not gonna like diminish what happened in the pandemic. But in terms of how healthcare workers are treated by the hospital, by management, by patients, it's just gotten worse. So I miss the heart of the job. I don't miss doing the job. I,
Mhm.
so far, since I was labor and delivery, when my friends are pregnant or trying to get pregnant, I talk to them a lot about it, and I go and act as their doula.
Mhm.
So I help them in their like birthing process, and I'm there to help them if they would like me to be. So that's kind of how I'm getting my fix now.
Mhm. I love
Yeah.
that. And maybe it'll work its way into a character or something in the future. You never
Oh
know.
yes, it definitely will. I mean, even into the gallows, there's like little mentions of stuff. Like I made sure I had at um, the Alex Astor signing, I had someone ask me what's my favorite part about world building. I was like, the medicine, seeing how medicine is created and interacts in a magical fantasy setting is
Mhm.
just so fun and fascinating to me. And like when I was writing to the gallows, I made sure that like I have a character in there who has a chronic illness, and it's a real life chronic illness. And I never name it because it's a fantasy book, but people who have that illness, and it's lupus, have emailed me and been like, "Hey, does this character have this?" And I'm like, "Yes, they do." And I even mentioned like towards the end of the book, there's a scene where Lorelai acts as like a midwife and helps bring the first child of spring into the world. And like some of her thoughts she has, like the audacity of babes to come out looking just like their father. Those are things I have thought or said in the delivery room.
Let's talk about like what was the first kernel that popped into your mind that sort of became to the gallows? Like was it, I mean, you tell
Oh,
me,
this is
but like,
easy. Oh, this is easy. It was a TikTok. I saw a TikTok.
oh right, you talked about that at Bougie's oh my God.
The
Yeah,
book
now it's
club,
coming
yeah.
back to me. But tell our listeners.
Yeah, so To the Gallows started when I saw a TikTok by this historian. And they were like, hey, fanfic writers, if you're looking for a new and unique way to like put your characters in new different situations, because I also started in fanfic, I did that as well. But there's this thing that used to happen called a gallows marriage. And how a marriage works is basically a man who is meant to die. Depending on what version you listen to, it's a woman or an executioner, but someone can volunteer to marry the prisoner and kind of like help reform them back into society. And I heard that, and my brain said, but what if we added magic? And what if it was completely original characters? And so I saw that mid February of 2024, and I wrote the first four chapters of Gallows that week. I got the first line for To the Gallows sitting in a Taco Bell parking lot that week. I
Amazing.
was eating a 5-layer burrito with my husband, and I went, "Oh my God, I have the opening lines." He was like, "Was it the burrito?" I was like, "I don't know, but we got them." And those lines have stayed in the book and are the opening lines of the book, and they have not changed at all.
That's amazing. The way that I found out about To the Gallows was the three of us, Molly, Caitlin, and I, were at Bougie, and I think I was wearing heels, so I had sat down on that lovely couch that they had facing the
Yes.
wall, and Cassie, being the amazing bookseller she is,
Oh, she is
starts talking.
amazing.
She's so good. I'm not even part of the conversation, and I hear her start talking about like the synopsis of your book, and I literally stood up and was like, "I'm sorry, what? Tell me more."
Cassie has, I think, hand sold more copies of my book than I have, which is impressive. Like I love her. She has been the biggest champion of To the Gallows since it started.
Hmm.
Bougie and Cassie and the team there were the first people to take a chance on me. They were the first store
Amazing.
that my book was in. They were the first event I ever went to. I ended up being a surprise author at their fantasy signing they had in September that year of 24,
Hmm.
and I gave them early ARC copies. I gave an early ARC copy to Cassie and the girls that were in their book club, see if they wanted to stock it, and it was a resounding yes. And I'm just so thankful for Cassie because she has still continued to champion my book, and it's at Belladonna now, her new store,
Hmm.
and it's just become a lifelong friendship. Like we're not just like people who work together now. We are. Oh my God, your cat's so cute.
Sorry, he was crying.
I feel that I had to lock my cats out the room. But it's become a not just a working relationship, but a lifelong friendship.
Hmm. No,
Yeah,
she's the best. And I haven't been to Belladonna yet. I
it's so
honestly work on the
cute.
weekends a lot of the time, so I need to like make time to actually go
Hmm.
and stop in and see them. I want you to basically queue up your book, give us a synopsis, and then I want to talk about your publishing journey because I think that there's probably a lot of listeners who are maybe thinking about writing their own book who it might be a little inspiring for them.
Got it. So, To the Gallows is a cozy cottagecore romantic standalone like Tangle meets the Princess Bride. And I sometimes I throw in Ella Enchanted or My Lady Jane, depending on who I'm talking to. Got to sweeten up the deal. But it is about a charming rogue meant to die, the enigmatic cleric who spares him, and their marriage of convenience that saves them both. It has forced proximity, witty banter, found family, and a slow burn pining, yearning romance that makes you believe in true love again.
It has like a I want to know more about the god, you know?
Oh, yes, yes. Um, it is also part of an extended universe. We will learn more about that, I promise.
Okay. I was going to ask, are we going to
Everyone
get
wants to
anything
know
more
more
in the
about
future?
them. Everyone wants to know more about them. And the story of how Gallows came into being, very interesting. Gallows wasn't my first book that I wrote or started trying to write. I originally started with a project I call Project Chosen. It still doesn't have a title, and I've been working on it for 4 to 5 years, but I came up with a lot of world building for that. And
Hmm.
then I pivoted and started working on a different project that you'll be familiar hearing about. Project Fall of the Dragon King is the title of my
Hmm.
next fantasy book. You find that title in the back of this book. I was working on that and I got kind of burnt out with it. I finished like my rough draft and started doing my own dev edits, but I just wasn't feeling the spark. And I really kind of like fell off the train on writing and I was beating myself up and feeling bad and kicking myself, the thing that procrastinators who are also perfectionists do. And then I saw that TikTok and I was like, oh, this is going to be a short standalone. I originally was like, oh, I don't want to do more world building. And I was like, why would I have to do more world building? Just stick the story inside the universe I've already created. The one that I created for Project Chosen that I then used for Fall of the Dragon King, because originally that story was going to be in a separate universe. And I said the same thing. Why do more work when I can just make the universe better? So we will see more of the gods because it's all an extended universe.
Fantastic,
Yeah.
fantastic. Okay, so let's talk about like your publishing journey,
Yes.
because you are currently indie published,
Yes.
hopefully soon traditionally published.
We will see. That would be pretty cool.
I mean, I saw that you now have an agent, so I feel
I
like
do.
that's you're slowly building up to it, you know?
Yes, I'm now represented by Angie at Lunar Literary Agency. Super excited to be there. She's been my dream agent, and she's an agent for a lot of my friends. I've met her several times before she ever became my agent, so I know we click. I know we work well together. I would love for Gallows to get picked up traditionally. That would be so cool. I've always said that it's my book to play with. That if
Hmm.
an opportunity comes, that's the book that we're going to start with and see how things go. But I also, it's really good to have an agent because I can also get it into the hands of more readers. I recently signed a deal to have To the Gallows translated into Brazilian Portuguese.
Amazing.
Yeah, so I have a surprisingly large readership in Portuguese, um, in Brazil specifically.
How did you
Um,
find out about that?
I started getting comments. People say, and like I translated them, it was like people saying, "Is this coming to Brazil? Is this coming to Brazil?" And then I started looking at my statistics, and this was like the end of last year. I started looking at my statistics. My top five cities were all in Brazil. Why? I don't know. 95% of my engagement for like a couple of months there was coming from Brazil.
Hmm.
Why? I don't know. I think it was a combination of like the beautiful character art I've had done. And then as I started prepping and teasing more of the Kickstarter, people started seeing more of the books and seeing more of the beautiful character art I had done. And I guess friends told their friends, and it just kind of spiraled. But I had a lot of engagement. It wasn't just like, oh, I had 500 people engaging and like that's how the stats were. It's like at that time, my like views on my profile on Instagram were around 100 to 120,000, and 95% of that was from Brazil. Why? I don't know, but I'll take it because then I got hooked up with Erica at DL Books, and I told her and shared my engagement stats with her, and she was like, "Okay, all right." And then I got an email saying, "It's a shame we don't have this book in Brazil. Let me fix that." And I was like, oh my God. So that's how I started my year is that. And it was just announced recently. So that's a fun thing my agent did that we did
Is
with
the
my agent.
cover staying the same, or is it like a different version entirely for them?
That will be up to my publisher. That'll be up to DL Books. I designed my cover, so we could technically keep it the same.
Hmm.
Um, it's kind of up to them. I'm not sure what they want to do, but I'm kind of on board with whatever. I know other books they have used similar covers or the same cover ups, and then others they've used completely different covers. So I do like the translation of the titles, very interesting. It's marriage at the gallows is how it's translated, but there's a word in Brazilian Portuguese that it means gallows, but there's like a little double entendre where there is a if you add not a tilde, but whatever the little squiggly is at the bottom of a C. I don't know
Hmm.
what that is called. Everyone's gonna flame me for this in the comments and be like, "What? She's supposed to be an author? What?" But when you add that to the bottom of the C, it changes it to, I believe she said it's like a saying of like doing something that you don't want to do, which is kind of the premise
Okay.
of the book. They're doing something they don't want to do at the gallows
Hmm.
because the gods have commanded that Lorelai Say Vildrick. So I thought
That's
that
so
was really, really
cool.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah. So when is that going to be available in Brazil? Do we have a date?
We do not have a date yet. If I had to guess, nobody hold me to this, but if I had to guess, probably end of this year, beginning of next, but not 100% certain. But I can say that we are including the extended epilogue in the translated version because I want to give that to my Brazilian readers who may not be able to read it in English from my newsletter website. And
Hmm.
basically, if it ever gets translated into any other language, I'm going to do the same because I want as much of my work to be accessible to readers across the globe as possible.
Hmm. Smart. Wow. Well, congratulations. That's
Thank you.
exciting.
It is
Well,
exciting.
so can we go back to so you started writing at the beginning of 2024, correct? Did I miss?
Yes,
Okay. And then was it August that it officially came out? I'm trying to remember
yes.
what. Okay, so that was like a
So
pretty like it just flowed out of you
it
or
flowed out of me. I wrote the book in under 2 months, but while working full time on night shift as a nurse. Don't ask me how I did it.
how?
I wrote whenever I could. If I had downtime, I was writing on my phone. If I got a lunch, it was spent writing. If I wasn't working, I was writing. I would stay on my night shift schedule and not see my husband for days at a time because he's in med school and he would be going to the clinics in the morning, so he had to go to sleep early to wake up early. He would be waking up as I was going to bed because I stayed on my night shift schedule to write because I had uninterrupted writing time from like 11 p.m. to 5 a.m.
Hmm.
So my husband didn't have a wife. That is also how I wrote that. Um, but I just wrote like a mad woman. And that's basically all I did.
You publish it and were you thinking like I'm gonna have to work super, super hard to get this into people's hands, or were you sort of in the like magical thinking of like it's just gonna happen on its own? Like, did you realize like how hard you were gonna have to promote yourself?
Um, I realized how hard I was going to have to promote myself to the gallows. For me, as I said earlier, it's always been my fun project. It is my project that I can have a good time on and just kind of try different things. It's my first book, and she's not perfect. She's not perfect, but she's what she needs to be. I was like, I'm gonna have to work hard, but I also knew that I had something special. I wrote a standalone when in 2024 there was in the fantasy realm and kind of still, it was all trilogies, big series, big honkin', huge world building series that were like 800 pages.
Hmm.
And I wrote a little 300 page fun standalone. And I knew that there are people out there like me who love world building but don't want to read world building dumps, want to kind of discover along with the characters as the story unfolds what the world is like and go from there. I was like, there's a market for this. And when I was coming up with my pitches for myself, like I was like, before the Bougie event, I have to figure out how to talk about my book
Hmm.
because that's the first question everyone says, what's your book about? Tell me about your book. And I hadn't done an event, so I was like, I need to figure out how to tell people about my book rather than just be like, it's about. So I came up with a pitch of it's Tangled meets The Princess Bride. Those are two really well known and very well
Hmm.
beloved things. It kind of like spiraled from there, and I've had to hand market to a lot of places. My book is in so many bookstores across New England and across like the country, and I've had to reach out to these stores individually and been like, "Hi, my name's Elizabeth. This is my book. This is why you should carry it." And as I've gotten into more stores, I've been able to share sales statistics and open doors that way
Hmm.
because money talks. Everyone wants a book that's going to sell in these stores because
Yeah.
that's how they make money, which, like, very fair as they should. I want the stores to stay in business. Once I started getting more events, more bookstores under my belt, it helped a lot. I'm still working hard, but I am on the magical thinking train of like this book, one, has changed my life so far and is going to continue to change my life. It's my gateway. It's my in to get somewhere. And readers love it. Like, toot my own horn. Readers love it. And yeah, so I knew I would have to work hard, but I also didn't expect a lot of things and a lot of opportunities I had last year to come so easily. And I'm so thankful for that because the readers really made that happen. When
Mhm.
people have read the book, they've said, I love it. And they tell all their friends, and all their friends go buy it. And then I get a call from the bookstore. I just sold all the copies of your book. Why did that happen in the span of a week? You left like 20. I'm like,
Mhm.
I don't know, wrote a good book.
And how did the Alex Astor event like come about that you got asked to be her conversation partner? That's so exciting.
Yeah, it is so exciting. So last year, I worked with Lovestruck. My book was in the store from the very beginning. One of my street team members actually worked there and told the owner, Rachel, and told their manager and their stalkers, we have to get this book.
Hmm.
And so they did. And then Mel, my street team member who worked there, she hand sold that book like her life depended on it. She is probably the only person who has sold as many copies of To the Gallows
As Cassie.
As Cassie. So that's how it started. And then other people in the store started reading it, and they were like, this book sells very well. And they were getting copies from Ingram. And I reached out to them. I was like, hey, like, I'll come by and sign your stock. So I went in, I met a lot of the booksellers, and I did an event there at the beginning of August of 2025. This is a long
Mhm.
story. Sorry,
No, it's
we
fine. I
get there.
remember seeing video. Were you outside?
We were
And
outside.
was Kim
Yes.
Swizz also there? I
She
think.
was she came to visit me. She wasn't at the
Oh,
event,
okay.
but she came to visit me. She has been a great friend that I've made through there as well. But me and Kim did an event together, and Kayla, the manager there, she had said, "We're doing Boston Fan Expo. We should get Elizabeth to come." And Kim was like, "I have an event with her like this Thursday. It's like 2 days before." She's like, "I'll let her know then." And Kim told me, I was like, yes, I want to go to Boston Fan Expo. Have you met me? I'm a giant nerd. One, two, that's such a cool opportunity. So they had me run their panels. I ran almost all of the panels with authors on them at Boston Fan Expo, and I was even on panels and signing books. And they loved me so much from that that they had told me, we're going to keep you in mind for any other opportunities for panelists or conversation partners if you're up for it. And I was like, yes, sign me up. I love to yap about books. I love to yap about romance, about writing, and talking to other authors. And so they messaged me and they're like, hey, do you want to be a conversation partner for this author on April 2nd? They didn't tell me who the author was. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. It
Oh,
doesn't matter who the author is. I will just like, yeah, like if they think it's a good fit, it's gonna be a good fit. Like they're not gonna bring someone in they don't think is gonna work. And then a couple days later, I was like, I wonder who it is. So I went and I looked and I messaged Riley, the events manager, back. I was like, Riley, why didn't you mention that this was Alex Astor? And he's like, I just wanted to make sure you were on board first and that we could get you approved. I was like, okay. So that's how that came to be. And I met Alex at the event, obviously, and we were talking, and she was like, yeah, you came highly recommended from Riley. Like, he said that
amazing.
if, like, you were the only option they gave, basically. They were like, you need to have Elizabeth here. And I was like, okay. And it's just so humbling, these connections I've made with these bookstores, and
Hmm.
the opportunities that it has opened for me.
I feel like success all comes back to the bookstores and
Yes.
which ones of them like hand sell and just they're the ones doing the work,
They're
you
the
know?
heart of the community. Like
Hmm.
that is where you go to get the book. Like, I
Hmm.
mean, yes, people can order the book on Amazon or they can order it from an online store, but the majority or read in Kindle Unlimited, but the majority of my sales have come from bookstores. I think on Amazon last year, I sold maybe 100 paperback copies on Amazon. And last year I sold, I would say 500 paperback copies in person at minimum.
Congratulations.
I didn't keep track of it. It was such a whirlwind. I did my New England book tour, my
Hmm.
accidental New England book tour that I booked for myself over the summer. But I think I sold over 500 copies just during that, which is amazing. Like if you had told me when I wrote this book, hunched over my computer like a little shrimp at 3 in the morning,
Hmm.
um, that I would be doing that the next year, I would be like, you're crazy. But then it's become my life. And then I have taken it to the next level. I ran a Kickstarter and it did so well. And we might get into that later, but that Kickstarter's changed my life. That's what allowed me to go full time as an author.
I'd love to know more about this because this is the first time I'm hearing about it. So tell me
Oh,
everything.
okay. So I decided to run a Kickstarter for a special edition of To the Gallows because I love this cover. I designed this cover. It was my first cover. It was originally meant to be a placeholder. And then I fell in love with it. And I said, you know what? Screw it. This book is my heart, it's my soul, it's my therapy notes, all wrapped into one. And I'm going to make the cover what I want it to be. Because also waiting for a cover would have made me push it back. And I released that book on my birthday. That was my birthday
Hmm.
present to myself. But I'm a sucker for some pretty character art.
Are we talking like spreads? Like, are you going to be
Oh,
doing something
we're
like that?
talking the whole 9 yards. This
Hardcover, like,
book is so the special edition. The Kickstarter has already ended, but if you're interested in getting a copy, anyone listening, find me at events. This is my event edition. And there may be some copies at small indie bookstores that decide to partner with me. No guarantees on that. But this book is a hardback with the extended epilogue bound into it, all new interior formatting. It has a reversible dust jacket with gold and silver foiling on both sides, and it has gold and white foiling of the original cover design on the hard case.
okay, love
And
that.
then it has sprayed edges, and
Hmm.
then it has two brand new illustrations that are exclusive to this edition. And as Kickstarter prints, they're exclusive to Kickstarter as the end pages.
Okay.
And then we have, there's more. And then we have page overlays. We have eight
Okay.
page overlays. We started with four, we unlocked eight in our stretch goals. So we have basically all the iconic scenes from To the Gallows have been illustrated and are going to be printed as page overlays for the Kickstarter. People who
You just
added those on.
you dreamed big and you were like, I'm gonna do all the things.
I dreamed so big, and I had a lot of people say, you're a first time Kickstarter runner. You only have one book. You're dreaming too big. And what you're trying to do is not profitable. And I was like, I'm a Virgo. I take that as a challenge, actually. So not only do we have this gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous book that I'm so obsessed with, we also have so many fun things with it. I
Mhm.
got a custom made candle. I have a custom personal fragrance. I have custom tea, custom book sleeves, custom corduroy embroidered sweaters. Um, when I say I dreamed big and
Yeah.
did a full bling campaign, enamel pins are another thing I did. Gold foil bookmarks. I dreamed big. I said,
I love
why would
this.
I put anything out that I wouldn't want to buy myself? And why would I not make this fun for me
Hmm.
as the creator so that it is fun for my audience?
Hmm.
So I really just said, we are going full send on this, and raised like over $40,000.
Oh my God.
Yeah, yeah.
But you
And
know
like,
what? Like, book people want to collect all the things. So I think
exactly.
it makes absolute sense.
And I have so many people who found me through this Kickstarter who didn't know my book beforehand. And
Hmm.
so I actually, for the duration of the Kickstarter, dropped my book to 99 cents because I didn't want to pull it out of KU for the Kickstarter because I would have had to because of their exclusivity clause. So I dropped it down to 99 cents and said, hey, one, you can get the first chapter for free on my website. Here, go read it. Two, if you want to read the whole book, it's 99 cents on Kindle. Go get it, read it, see how you like it. And so many people found me that way through this Kickstarter for the first time because it had over 550 backers. And so many of them are new to me. And they're like, I'm so glad I found this because now I get the pretty edition. And they get it at cheaper prices than are going to be available at the event because they helped me fund it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I wanted to do an event edition. This started as an idea back last June, I think.
Okay.
And I had originally said I don't want to do special editions, but I was like, this book deserves a little bit more with all the work she's done, and my fans
Mm-hmm.
deserve a little bit more than just like love my original cover, but then this cover I made on Canva.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went all in. And I have placed some of the largest orders of my life, and I'm about to place the largest order of my life later this week for all the
Are you
books.
nervous?
um, I dropped like four figures on candles and sweatshirts and book sleeves and all of these things. And I'm like, in my recent Kickstarter update, I was like, if little me could see what I was spending money on as a 28-year-old woman, I think she'd be proud. I think she'd be proud that this is our life. And then the money that obviously doesn't go directly to funding all these things, I get to keep. And it is helping me fund my next book and is helping me pay my mortgage. It's helping me pay my phone bill, my electricity bill, for my editing, all of the things.
And
And
maybe now you
it's
get
just
to
amazing.
be a wife and not have to write during the nighttime.
Yes, I get to, one, not be a night shift nurse. Two, I get to do the things I love. My life has been, I have officially been a full-time author now for 2.5, going on 3 months.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And it's surreal. And I'm incredibly humbled by everyone who has read my book. And it has just gotten bigger after the Kickstarter because everyone has seen the book from the Kickstarter because I worked with an ad company who ran ads out the freaking wazoo. And so a lot of people have seen the book and they missed the Kickstarter, but it's getting them to become my readers in other ways.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm working on my next book, which had been really hard while I was working as a nurse full time and doing promo for To the Gallows full time.
Mm-hmm.
And now I get to do that and focus just on my craft, and it's amazing.
Can you talk about what you're working on next or give us any
I
sort of like hints?
I can. So I am sorry to all of my readers. I know I had said I was working on Fall of the Dragon King,
Mm-hmm.
but I had an idea. I got inspired watching copious amounts of Netflix because I was very sick at the beginning of the year and I couldn't write. I couldn't do anything. I was in the hospital. It was not good. But I watched copious amounts of Netflix and
Mm-hmm.
I got inspiration for a contemporary sports rom-com.
Pivot.
It's a big pivot, but it's working. It
Okay.
is my pitch. I can't tell much about it because I'm still writing it and I don't want to give too much until I'm 100% certain where it stands, when it's going to come
Mm-hmm.
out. I have a projected like release date and everything, but I don't like to make promises I can't keep.
Mm-hmm.
But I can tell you that the concept is Legends of the Hidden Temple meets Survivor.
Okay.
That is it is a game show. It's a competitive reality game show that
Mm-hmm.
is Greek themed. So it's Legends of the Hidden Temple, but Greek themed
Okay.
with Survivor. Um,
Were those the shows you were watching while you were sick that sort of spawned this?
I didn't watch Legends of the Hidden Temple. I just have always had a like deep love and passion for it because I would watch it on Nickelodeon at
Mm-hmm.
unholy hours when I was a kid. But I did watch a little bit of Survivor at the time, and I watched also Physical 100. I don't know if you've seen that. It's a Korean game show
Okay.
where basically the whole concept is we're gonna find the perfect physical specimen And like basically everyone from a bunch of different like sports all come together and are competing for like the top spot to be like, I am the best. So that was a really big one. I watched
Hmm.
all three seasons of it. It's so good. They made like a guy holding a boulder for 3 hours the most entertaining thing I have ever seen. Me and my husband were like, oh my God, he's still going? Like it was insane, like how much they did. And then also Squid Games, the challenge.
Hmm.
I don't know if you know, but
Hmm.
they have an actual reality TV show based off
Hmm.
of Squid Games. So we watched that.
Hmm.
And then me and my husband went down a rabbit hole of watching reality competitive game shows.
Hmm.
Like another one they had is Battle Camp, which is where they take a lot of contestants from other reality TV shows on Netflix and put them all into a summer camp. These are the more niche comps that people aren't going to know, but when I say Legends of the Hidden Temple and Survivor, they know those two.
Yep. Yep. I'm intrigued. I'm already in.
So it's basically a competitive reality game show. And it has teams like in Legends of the Hidden Temple. It's four teams. We have the Golden Eagles, the Silver Owls, the Bronze Horses, and the Cobalt Peacocks. So kind of sticking with the color animal theme that you see in
Hmm.
Legends of the Hidden Temple. And coming up with challenges that are not only like physical based, like in Physical 100, like I was talking about, but are also intellectual puzzles to be solved, require good teamwork.
Hmm.
Like in one of the seasons of Physical 100, they have teams rather than individual competitors. They're teams from other countries. Um, but just kind of taking all of these things that I really enjoyed and putting them into a blender and
Hmm.
putting that into a pan and putting it in the oven and pulling out a book. It's my own little cake. It's delicious. It's going to be a standalone. I wouldn't be opposed if I had an idea for other books in the series with other characters, but it is currently just a standalone. But
Hmm.
yeah, that's about as much as I can say without actually going into story and without actually
That was
giving release
plenty.
date or title. I was like, I think that that's like this is like an exclusive. This is
I
an
love
exclusive. I
that.
haven't talked about this,
I
except for with my author friends.
I was so convinced going into this that you were going to say that you were still working in the same universe, and that surprised me, but I'm all in. I'll be one of your first customers on that book.
Well, I was like, it's a huge pivot, and I had the worry that my readers aren't gonna like this. My readers are fantasy, but I think with Gallows, it toes the line of fantasy and romance so
Hmm.
perfectly that actually a lot of my readers are more romance readers and don't really care what the
Yeah.
subgenre is.
I would argue that like on the spectrum of fantasy, like let's say that like Akatar is one end with like winged men.
Yes,
Like this is not that. So you don't have to travel as far out of the fantasy realm.
yes,
Like they're already fine being, either way.
yeah. Like you said, if we have one end that is Akatar, and then we have one end that is like your full contemporary romance. I'm
Hmm.
like really kind of like just left of center.
Hmm. Hmm.
And for a lot of people, To the Gallows is actually the first fantasy they've ever read.
Oh,
Um,
I love that.
yeah, and it's a really good starter fantasy. And that's when I get readers who come to my tables at events and are like, I don't read fantasy, but your character art you have on your banner is gorge and it's got me intrigued. And I tell them, I'm like, this is actually a perfect starter fantasy because it
Hmm.
doesn't have heavy world building. It has your traditional dual POV that you're going to see in a lot of your contemporary fantasies. There's magic, but there's not like a hard magic system to keep track of. And it's heavily focused on the romance rather than the fantasy aspects. Like there is fantasy aspects and there is a plot going on,
Hmm.
but we're more so focused in on the characters.
Hmm.
I've also pitched the To the Gallows as we're actually focusing on the side characters of an epic fantasy.
Oh, I like that pitch. Yeah.
Yeah, so like we're focusing in on the side characters of Eldrick, who is like the right hand man of this lost faith prince who's leading a rebellion,
Mm-hmm.
and his side shenanigans he has when he gets caught almost dies and is saved by a priest that is actually meant to like give him his last rites at its like death.
Mm-hmm.
And we get to focus in on that. So
Mm-hmm.
it's easier to dip the toes in. I'm hoping a lot of people trust me and decide that actually, you know what, Elizabeth can write a romance, doesn't matter what subgenre it is.
Well, I can't wait to get more updates as we get closer to actual title and date and all that
Yes.
stuff.
I will say, if everything goes according to plan, my zero draft should be done at the end of this month. My
Oh,
official first draft should be done at the end of May. And it should be to my editor in July. And there might be a release during end of quarter three, beginning of quarter four.
okay. I thought you were going to be like, maybe next year.
Nope, it's going to be this year. If everything works out like I want it to, it's going to be this year. And that's one of the beautiful things about indie publishing is I can do that.
Mm-hmm.
I can have a tight turnaround. I can write a book in 2 months and then have it published at the end of that same year.
Mm-hmm.
It might drive me a little crazy, but honestly, that's how I work best, and that's how I've always
Mm-hmm.
worked best is under pressure. So
Fantastic.
yeah.
Oh, give everyone your handle for where they should follow you before I forget.
Yes. You can follow me at elizabethskarpnes.author on all social media. You can also subscribe to my newsletter on my website, www.elizabethskarpnes.com. That's where you find me.
Before we wrap things up, are there any books that you are reading right now that you're just like super excited for, or any other authors you want to shout out?
I want to shout out, oh my gosh, I have so many friends I want to shout out. Um, I'm going to take a moment to shout out one of my best friends, Amanda Sinatra. She is a New England based author. She lives about 40 minutes up the road to me. We write together all the time. When I was sick recently and I was in the hospital, she came and brought me food because the hospital food sucked. She came and got me a discharge because my husband couldn't because he was in surgery for school. And she really just like stuck by me and stuck with me through a lot of really tough stuff at the beginning of this year. And I just really appreciate that. And she's also a fantastic author. Of course, I got sick the week of her debut contemporary romance. She was publishing a book, and I had plans to make that week all about her. I
Oh.
bought a cake. I was ready. I was like, we're going to go do all the fun things. And it all fell apart. And she didn't care. She's like, I don't give a shit about that. I care that you're healthy and safe and well. And so on her release day, rather than celebrating herself, she came and got me out of the hospital. She came
Oh,
and took
that's a
care
good
of
friend.
me. That's a really good friend. So I want to shout out Amanda Sinatra. And I want to shout out my other best friend, Catherine Sweet. She writes rated R Hallmark. Her most recent release is called Failure to Thrive. Really, really, really good. I'll describe it as a trailer park romance. Small town
Okay.
trailer park romance. It's so good. It's so good. I helped dev edit it for her. She has so many good books. But I also want to shout her out because when a very large event company recently made some of their views public that weren't really sensitive, and a lot of people started pulling out from their events and were out of money and didn't know where to go. She decided to take her own money and put it into making an alternative event for these authors who weren't able, who like couldn't support this business and couldn't support that event. And I am so insanely proud of her for doing like the right thing. And it's called Books in the Barn. And if you are in, by the time this airs, I think it'll have already happened.
Oh,
But
probably, yeah.
you can follow her at Sweet Tales with Spice on all socials. Please support her. She's the sweetest, sweetest, sweetest human being ever. And she writes fantastic books that like are just so heartwarming and are very different than what's in the space. They're like very weird, very niche, but in like a good, heartwarming way.
Molly likes to say that the more niche something is, the more relatable it is.
Yeah,
So,
it is super relatable. You read it and you're just like, this is human. I
Mm,
would say that what she writes is very human. So those are my two people
absolutely.
I want to shout out because I love them very much, and I think they deserve the world.
Fantastic. Well, listeners, if you want to follow along with any of the books that were mentioned in this episode, you can check our Instagram at Plans Are Booked. You can also write to us at plansarebookedgmail.com. We'd love to hear from you, and we would love it if you would rate or review us on Spotify, Apple, wherever you hear this podcast. And until next time, thank you, Elizabeth, for being here. Our plans are booked.